Okay, in this video, we're going to correct our landscape to make it a bit bigger. Excuse me. And create the path that our train track will go on. So let's start by moving our 3D cursor back to the center if it's not. So Shift S, cursor to world origin. We'll put it between the green Y-axis and the red X-axis. Next, select your landscape. Shift S and selection to cursor. Let me turn on my screencast. So Shift S, selection to cursor. Now let's scale this so it's larger and a little bit easier to see. Don't stress too much about if it's the correct size compared to your train tracks. We'll fix that in a little bit. All right, now we're going to create the path that our train and our tracks will go around. So let's hit 7 on the number pad so we're looking at it from the top. Shift A, mesh, plane. And I'm going to orbit to the side for just a second, grab my plane on the Z-axis, and move it so it's floating up above the landscape. 7 on the number pad again. Let's open the property shelf. Well, we'll come to that in a second. Let's go ahead and with the plane selected, rename this to track path. Let's add a subdivision surface. And let's scale this so it's a little bigger and easier to see. And on your modifier for subdivision surface, levels viewport, if your computer can handle it, move it to 2 or 3. I'm just going to move it to 2, but if your computer has trouble, you can leave it at 1. Now let's switch to edit mode. Let's select to the vertices and delete those vertices. Next, I'm going to grab the section and move it over to my path. And for right now, I'm going to make this a bit smaller. I still have on proportional edit, so I'm going to turn that off. If you have it off already, you don't have to worry about that. So we're going to extrude these little pieces out and follow the path that we've created. Now, you don't have to get these exactly the same, but try to keep them relatively close. You don't want to have one that's extremely different in length, but keep it about the same as best as you can. And you're just going to hit E to extrude, move it up, left click to place it, and work your way around your path. So I'm going to pause this video in just a second as I work through this so you don't have to watch the whole thing. But as you do this, it is very, very important that you are looking from the top in orthographic view. So if you look right here, it'll say top orthographic. If it does not, hit 7 on the number pad so that you're looking straight down. So I'm going to pause my video, work around, and then I'll tell you how to close this off. So you can see I've just extruded and work my way around, and I'm here at the very end. To close this gap, we'll select the end and start point and hit F to make a face. So now that we have the path, you'll notice that obviously it's floating up in the air and it's not laying on our area that we've created. To get this to lay down here, we're going to go back to object mode. Let's go ahead and apply the subdivision surface. Now, if we look in edit mode, we have more vertices that can align with the surface of our terrain. So switch back to object mode. Click add modifier, and we're going to add the shrink wrap modifier. Now we have to tell it what we're trying to shrink wrap this to. So using the eyedropper, I will select the landscape. You'll notice that it's nowhere near our path that we've created. And that's because our origin point is floating up away from the surface, so it's having trouble calculating exactly where we want it to line up. So if we grab this by hitting G, Z for the Z-axis, and as we move the origin point down, you can see that it starts to line up more like we would expect. So as I grab this on the Z, you'll notice if I go too far, it starts to distort again. So play with the Z location until it looks like it's on your track correctly, or your path, I should say. I think that looks okay. Once this looks correct, we're going to apply the shrink wrap. Now, before we can put our track on this, before we can animate the train going around this, we have to change it from a mesh object to a curve object. To do that, make sure you have it selected. Press F3 to search for a command. We're going to search for convert and select convert curve. You'll notice that this icon is now different than a mesh object. So here we have the mesh landscape and you see the triangle. If I select the path, you now have this curve icon indicating that it's now a curve object. So we'll stop there for this video. And in the next video, we'll start to line up our track pieces onto this path.